A very warm welcome to Highfields. This is obviously our year six, going into year seven presentation for parents and students. Normally this would all be done face to face, but of course we are living in slightly unprecedented times. So as such, this is just one of those ways in which we're kind of adjusting to this new normal that we all find ourselves in. So, I mean, I do appreciate that actually this time of year, it's a time for year sixes to really to enjoy themselves, to be really looking back on their achievements throughout their time in primary school and celebrating all of those successes. But it's also about looking forward to September. We know that with any kind of transfer to secondary school, there's always going to be some nerves, but there's going to be lots of excitement and hopefully lots of anticipation about those fresh challenges, new opportunities, and really looking forward to September. Now, obviously, this would be the week or coming up to the week in which we would normally have our transition days. And we think those are really important in getting youngsters ready to understand the first steps they're going to make on their journey with us here at Highfields. They'll be here with those same friends and teachers for the next 5 years, more likely the next 7 years as they kind of move into sixth form and don't actually leave us until they go on to university. We know that transition is generally very, very straightforward for the vast majority of students. We know that transition sometimes can actually be harder for the parents than it is for students. So we would also be inviting you in as parents just to kind of give you as much information as possible and to answer as many questions as we possibly can. And I guess what we probably will find at the moment is that some of the kind of nerves which might have been there on the part of parents and students in normal circumstances may be a little bit more pronounced at these particular times as well. So really what we'd like to do in this presentation is kind of outline our efforts, if you like, to make the process as normal as we can. The content of this will be very similar to what we would have presented to you in person, but also is that what we really want to do before the end of this term is we want to create the opportunity where every one of our year seven students can come into Highfields and actually visit us and to try and achieve lots of the things that we'd normally do so. Because that step to secondary can be a big step for many students, and the fact that they've been out of school for so long in many cases will only have compounded that. The idea that for some year sixes, the first time they will set foot back into school will be their new secondary school will make that a little bit more daunting than it might be. So a big part of what we really want to achieve over the next couple of weeks is getting them familiar with some of our expectations, our routines, the site, the building, all in preparation for September, because we know that the government have that very firm plan that every student will be back in school full time in September. And if that is the case, which of course we all very firmly hope that is the case, then we really need all of our year sixes coming into year seven to be ready to hit the ground running in September. So what we hope to do with our new year sevens to support them with the process is to invite each of them into school in the week beginning Monday the 6th of July, all based on primary schools, just to experience a day at Highfields. I mean, it'll be a shorter day, but really to see if we can make it as much like the real thing that the previous transition experience, which they would have got. But of course, we know and we fully accept and appreciate that things will need to be different, which I'll come on to shortly. So as part of that day, what would your child experience? Well, they'll have that introduction from Miss Parker, our head of lower school, who you'll meet shortly, and she will kind of share her ambitions for them, expectations of them, and really those kind of top tips for what they really need to do to be successful during their time with us. But then they will also take part in a number of really very structured activities, to help them kind of get very familiar with the building, with all of the classrooms, with the sites, because Highfields is a very impressive, it's a fabulous design building, but it is also the largest secondary school in the city. And this is a great opportunity for them to get used to that with all of those other students, without all of those other students in the building. So they can be confident that actually they won't be getting lost when they start with us in September. Because the reality is, although the school does look huge, the design is actually remarkably straightforward. And actually, if you get to know one floor, if you get to know the layout of the learning school, then you'll be fine with all of those others too. So I think familiarization with the site itself and just with the layout of the school is an incredibly important part of transition. And let's say, with much smaller numbers of students in, that's something which we will be able to achieve much more effectively. Second part of it, of course, is also about getting familiarized with our digital technologies. We want to get them set up on their Highfields school email, on Show My Homework, on Office 365. Because obviously, as Mr. Cheetham will talk about shortly, we run a one-to-one, an individual sort of laptop device scheme at Highfields, which is the basis of all of our remote learning program that we've used recently. But actually, we routinely use that for communication with home, with students, and for students to complete their schoolwork and their work at home as well. So getting them familiar with that will be very, very important. And that will allow them to be familiar with the format in which we will be setting them work for the next few weeks. Because what we've agreed across Wolverhampton as primary and secondary schools is that there will be almost like a compulsory set of short transition tasks based on a reading book, which we'll give out to students on those days. But we'll also be setting lots of additional enrichment activities for students to feel ready for September. Now, I do want to stress, though, that actually these are optional activities that you can dip into or out of as much as you like. I fully appreciate that some of you might actually have had more than enough of homeschooling over recent weeks, and it may be that you actually decide not to do these at this particular point in time, although you might. What you might rather do is actually use these as a good set of activities to gear up towards the end of August and really get youngsters ready for their return in September. It's entirely your choice, but we would like to get all of those set and shared with students so they're clear about those expectations too. And also it's experience a typical a lesson as much as they can to feel what it's like to be a student at Highfields, because if students haven't been back in their primary schools particularly, it's really important that they understand our building, they understand some of our expectations, and have made that first step of their Highfields journey before they go into this really quite long summer holiday. As much as we would like it to be a really typical transition day as we possibly can be, things, of course, will be different. And I just want to talk you through some of those arrangements and address any concerns which you might have, really. Because, I mean, of course, Highfields hasn't been closed at any point during the sort of the wider school closure. We've always had students in, and we've got increased students numbers in at the moment in terms of year 10 and 12s. So we actually, I suppose in many senses, we're very familiar now with actually social distancing and sort of enhanced rigorous hygiene control measures being in place. So actually this has become something of a new routine for us, but obviously this will be sort of very, very important that youngsters visiting us for the first time are really clear in terms of our expectations for this. Because we will make certain that students will always be socially distanced during the time that they're actually with us. I know that there's been some revision in terms of a suggestion of a reduction to 1 metre, but actually from our point of view in school for the remainder of this term, we'll be continuing to operate on 2 metres a school. That will be the expectation at all times that they're actually with us. We'll be inviting students into school based on their primary schools. So we won't be looking at form groups as we normally do in the way we'd organise it. Now, that should allow us to protect any existing bubbles which exist within the primary school. We're not planning to have a group bigger than 8 students in a classroom at any one time. So that distance will always be there. And it means that when they do move around school for some of the orientation activities, those group sizes will be incredibly manageable. And we will only have 1/4 of the year group in school on any one day. Now that will be basically less than 75 students in school at any one time. This is a school building that normally accommodates up to 1,600 students, so there will be more than enough room for us to ensure really effective social distancing. A shame in some senses, because students will remain on the same floor, so they'll spend their day that they have with us on the top floor. But like I say, in terms of the orientation activities, when they go off, they'll really get the opportunity in those really small groups to explore the site and the whole building. But most of the time, their movement will be restricted. You know, they will have movement restricted at lunchtime as well, as you might expect, because safety must be our first priority, as it always should be in school. And while we know that this risk of infection may be declining nationally, for us it is still very much an issue that we need to manage it, and we know that we can manage it. As I say, we've had lots of students in school over recent weeks, and over the last couple of weeks in particular, we've got increasingly bigger and bigger numbers of year 10 and year 12 students as well. All of those students, by the way, are on the ground floor. So actually they'll arrive and leave at a different time to your youngsters. So actually there won't be any risk of them actually meeting one another. They may just see each other in the distance when they're actually on their sort of tours of the school, which will always be supervised with members of staff. Now, as part of the information which we've sent out to you, with this video link, then there's clear guidance for students, which we'd be really grateful if you could just go through with them in advance of their visit. I'm sure that will just be reinforcing the conversations you've already been having with them in recent weeks and months, but just so that they know when they arrive actually what will happen and what we're going to need to be expecting from them. And unusually as well, the other thing which we'll need to consider is the journey home after these transition days more carefully than previously. It was always one of the times of the year where I kind of I look forward to it really fondly, actually, sort of seeing those parents waiting at the gate, looking really quite fearful, and then seeing their youngsters coming out of school after having a really good day and being really sort of happy and looking forward to September. But we do know that while we normally have quite a collection of parents waiting to pick youngsters up at the gates, lots of youngsters walking home in big groups or with their sort of peers or older siblings, we know that isn't going to be possible this year. So it's something which we'll need to manage carefully. We will manage carefully. It's one of the benefits, though, of having such a large site with such small numbers of students on site at any one time. We know that we can manage this really straightforwardly. But what we have got attached to this, again, the information which came out to you, the original letter, is just a short form survey with Miss Parker's letter, just so we can collect some information from you, which will allow us to plan and get things right. Because it's about getting the balance right between ensuring that students and staff are safe at all times, and we do what we can to really create as normal as possible a transition experience as we can achieve. Because we really want youngsters to be leaving us after that transition day, clear of what's expected of them in September, but really ready to make that sort of fabulous start to their time at Highfields, and to be looking forward over the summer to making those first steps with us, and thinking about all of the new opportunities which will be presenting themselves to them, and the challenges ahead. At that point, if I just hand you over to the member of staff that will probably become the most important person in school for your child over the next 2 years, and that's Miss Parker, who is our head of lower school. Thank you.
Hello, I'm really looking forward to being able to meet you all face to face, as this just doesn't seem natural at all. The lower school team are always here to help support students, but also for parents and carers should you ever need it. I really can't emphasise enough that if students are upset about anything during a school day, they speak to one of us before they go home, so we can deal with anything quickly and efficiently, rather than anyone worrying overnight and leaving things till the next day. So as you can see from the photos, there is quite a big team. So Mrs. Mees will be the year manager, and then Mrs. Collins and Mrs. Cooper are also part of the year team, and they're also there to help and support as well. We have really high expectations of all students, which allows all students to work together to be the best that they can possibly be. It is vital that we work together as there are lots of new systems for students and parents to learn, and we can help if you just let us know what you need. On the next 2 slides, you will see that there are lots of opportunities for students to try new things and to find talents that they possibly didn't even know that they had. All students will be given a locker in September to help them organise themselves for the day. Organisation is a really big issue for all students, but especially in Year 7. And so therefore these lockers will help them to plan their day, to be able to leave their books in, possibly their PE kit, so that they've got it and they can swap it over at break or lunchtime. However, these are going to take us a bit of time to organise, as this year really isn't normal in any way, so please be patient with us, but we will get locker keys to all the students as soon as we possibly can. You will also see that we use biometrics in school. This is to allow parents to be able to use parent pay, and for this you can also see and monitor everything that your child is buying. So you will know that if they've come home and said that they've eaten really healthily and they've had a salad and maybe an apple for lunch, you will be able to go on to parent pay and see that they've probably had pizza and a cake instead. So it does give you a little idea about what they're spending, what times of the day, but also it does allow students the flexibility, and it does mean that there is no money in school, so they can't possibly lose their lunch money. It just requires you to log on to parent pay and just top up as and when you can. All of our communication with parents now is generally done through email. Sometimes we will text you. So therefore it's really important that you keep your details up to date. You should have found that you've already had an email regarding the log-on details for EduLink. So if anything does change, if you could just log on, change your addresses, email address, telephone numbers, and therefore we will know that everything is completely up to date. So all of our letters, but also most importantly progress reviews. So we will record the progress of students, and then every half term we send home a quick snapshot to you, which is a progress review, which will show how the students are progressing, and you can see from your child how much effort they're putting in. So all of this will explain later in the day, but it's really important in order for you to maintain those communications with us and know exactly what is going on, that if anything changes you do update it, please. All of our uniform is available from Lads and Lasses, and at the minute, because of these strange times, they're offering a very range of different services at the minute. You can order online, you can do a click and collect, and they've also got a booking system where you can go on now and book a convenient time for you to actually go into the shop and try any of the uniform on. So a huge support there from Lads and Lasses in order for you to get the PE kit absolutely as you want it. We are very strict on how students wear their uniform, so we expect all of the ties to be done right up to the top. All students will be given a uniform card when they start in Year 7, and that uniform card is kept in the top pocket of their blazer, and if at any point they're not wearing their uniform correctly, it will be signed by a member of staff. So just the heads up, before you wash these blazers, please check the top pockets, because we have lots that get washed quite regularly. So the uniform is very smart and looks beautiful when it is worn correctly, but please make sure that all of the students do not change any of the uniform in any way, and therefore they also wear all black leather shoes with this. This is really important, and the most important thing over the summer is just be careful with the haircuts. We don't allow any patterns or anything put into the hair, or any different colours, unnatural colours, to be put into students' hair either. So all of this can be found on our website. The PE kit is also available from Lads and Lasses. The biggest thing I would say about all of our uniform and our kit is that the most important thing is to label everything. Put your child's name in every single item that you can, please. I think in Year 7, in the first half term, The lower school team probably spend more time dealing with lost PE kits than they do with anything else, and the PE department work really hard to make sure that they get all the kit back to the right people. But if you can label everything, especially even in the inside of the socks, that would really help, because otherwise that does affect the organisation when students arrive and they don't have everything they need. So label everything, please. That would be really helpful.
Hello, my name is Mr. Cheatham and I'm one of the deputy heads at Highfields School, and one of the roles that I have is to support and develop digital technologies and in relation to improving teaching and learning. One of the things I want to talk about on this slide is our journey in terms of digital technologies and digital literacy. 3 or 4 years ago, the school had made a momentous decision in terms of investing in to support a one-to-one laptop scheme for all students in the school. And this great investment over the last 3 years, the scheme has been running, has enabled us to support our students with their studies, but not just in terms of their studies, but also to keep pace with the ever-changing technological demands in the real world, which they will eventually have to go to once they finish their education. And as you can see from this slide, there's a vast range of application softwares that are in place already in school to support your child in their teaching and learning. But we also feel that this one-to-one scheme allows them to develop those non-academic digital literacy skills that will benefit them when they leave school. The 2 key ones I want to draw attention to today are the Office 365 application, which is what we use in school. You may be familiar with it from work or from home. This is a free software to all students in the school, and it is also available free as part of the HP Stream scheme to parents and up to 5 licenses. So that basically means if you sign up for the scheme, you will not have to pay for Microsoft Office Suite updates or even pay for it straight off. You can download it and follow the instructions that are on the parent section of the school website. The other element that I wanted to draw attention to is in the top right-hand corner of the slide, which is Show My Homework, and I'll go into a little bit more details on how that supports you as a parent and also the students. The other reason for this move from the school in terms of the HP Stream scheme is it allows greater support for the students and also gives staff a stronger tool to allow more effective differentiation in terms of supporting the low ability students, maybe with reading difficulties, low reading ages. We have software, for example, called Immersive Reader, which can either automatically translate a word, it can give a definition of a word, or it can read a document to a child, which allows them then to take their time to process it, but also challenge the more able. So what this has done is allowed us now as staff to be able to really push those students that need pushing without having to wait for the other students in the class. They can set differentiated work quite easily through the student laptops. And sort of we're moving away from the scenario where the teacher's standing at the front of the classroom and all the students are gazing towards their lead, whereas now the teacher is more sort of pushing small groups within the class through the medium of the HP Streams. The other benefit of the HP Stream scheme and also this new technology is it allows greater visibility for you as parents in terms of what is going on in your child's life in school through EduLink and also through Show My Homework, so you can see what homeworks are being set, but also allows us as school to have stronger links with home through communications. The next slide, I just want to explain a little bit about the finances and why the scheme is more cost effective than doing it yourself. On this slide, I just want to talk through the sort of the package deal that we're offering and the finance and in terms of the costs and so on and the savings that are involved. The device that we're asking you to sign up for is a HP Stream 11-inch, 4GB RAM, 64GB internal storage. It's a tier 1 device. We have, over the last 3 years, seen this as a workhorse in terms of laptops. It has a proven track record in terms of durability and being able to keep up with the constant updates that you get from all of the online applications. One of the key elements as to why we've moved to stop with a HP Stream rather than go to, let's say, for example, a Chromebook, which is a lot of other schools are offering, is that with the 64GB internal storage, this allows the device to be used at home even if there is no Wi-Fi. So they can still open Word documents, they can still open PowerPoint documents, they can still work on them, even if they don't have any Wi-Fi or access to Wi-Fi. And then as soon as they come into school, that will then automatically connect into the school Wi-Fi system and then upload it. Whereas Chromebooks, you constantly have to have a Wi-Fi signal. So we are aware that there are some situations and some parents that may not have this as regular as others. So that's one of the reasons why we have chosen to stick with the HP Stream. In terms of the finances, I'm not going to talk through the sort of benefits, but as you can see from the blue on the left-hand side, you get, along with the price of £8 per month, you get a protective sleeve, a neoprene sleeve. You get full accidental damage and theft insurance. So that's both in the school, on the way from school and home, at home, and also abroad. And this has got a zero excess, so therefore there's no upfront money to pay. Obviously, what we don't want you doing is just throwing the laptop around, because it comes with a reasonable use criteria. There's also a support and help desk in terms of Freedom Tech, who's the company that manages the payments. You have school software packages and applications, which I've already mentioned in terms of Office 365. You have free subscription for the student who comes into school, but also up to 5 devices at home can download Microsoft Office Suite for free whilst your child is at school. So you don't have to pay for any upgrades. You don't have to pay for any Microsoft Office Suite in terms of PowerPoint, Word for the next 5 years at least. As the school goes into the lease agreement with the finance company, there will be no credit check. So you are not personally liable for anything. The school takes all of the risk. The school, as a result, will own the device over the 30-month lease period. But there will be an option, which we are just doing this year with the current year 9, when your child reaches year 9 at the end of the 30-month lease period, we are looking to refresh the device for a brand new device. So have a new device for 30 months and then get another brand new one. If that's not to your liking, then we will also have an option where you can continue on with the existing device by paying what's referred to as a residual value, which is a bit like a balloon payment in the HP agreement for cars. So financially, this is a very good deal. We've managed to keep this £8 a month parental contribution the same level for the last 2 years. Myself, my daughter is in current year 8, and I signed up to this last year when she joined the school. And I think for the equivalent of, as you'll see in the next slide, 4 packets of Doritos crisps, family share crisps per month, £8 per month, I think this is a fantastic deal that will actually improve your child's education while they're at Highfields. On the right-hand side, you will see if the costs in terms of if you wanted to do this yourself, and then you can see that if you go through the school scheme, you've got an overall saving of just over £400. Now on the next slide, I'm going to explain the sort of more details in terms of the package included. I'm not going to spend too long on this slide because a lot of it I covered in the previous one. I just wanted to reiterate that sort of, as I said, for the price of 3 or 4 share bags of Doritos crisps, that's equivalent to £8 a month. You get a very comprehensive package, so much so that I signed up to it for my daughter last year when she came into the school in year 7. She's currently in year 8, and to this, still I haven't found a package similar to this or who could beat it in any other school. Just a quick summary on the slide. Really want to clarify in terms of the accidental damage and theft insurance that that's all done and dealt with through the school. You don't have to do anything. So if anything does happen in terms of accidental damage to the device, you bring it into the school, our IT department services will then assess it, package it up, send it off to the insurance company, and they'll either repair it and return it or return a brand new device. The theft insurance, you will need to get a police reference number, and then that will again be sent through to the school, and we will use that as part of the insurance to get a replacement device. Protective case comes with it. You will get the school software package. Office 365 is free for your child, which is why we use it. Because we use it in school. That will also enable you to have 5 Microsoft Office Suite licenses, which means you don't have to buy Microsoft Office Suite for PowerPoint, Word for the duration of your child being at school. So you just go to the school website in the parent section. There's a little video there to help you in terms of downloading the software at home. And then at the end of the 30 months, the last point on the PowerPoint slide is that we're currently going through a process of refresh. So in the middle of year 9, we will go into another agreement with the finance company, and basically you will then have a brand new device taking your child from halfway through year 9 all the way through to their GCSE exams in year 11. So we see this as a really, really good package, and so therefore I would really recommend that you sign up to it as soon as possible. Now that we've done such a good job on you and told you and convinced you that this is the best thing since sliced bread, particularly brown whole grain sliced bread, what do you need to do next? In a couple of days, after you've received this virtual presentation, you will receive an email with the web address and a username and password to log into the portal. That portal is managed by a company called Freedom Tech, who deal with all of the financial side and setting up the direct debits and so on. So if you've got any queries or questions about that side of the scheme, then can you please direct them to Freedom Tech, which there is a help email address and phone number on the web portal. Once you're into the portal, all you will need is an email address that they can contact you on a regular basis if there's any issues with the direct debit. You just need to fill out the direct debit, which is an online version of it in terms of any standard direct debit that you normally do. It's a very simple process. There's no choice in terms of we only offer the HP device, and then as soon as you've done that, that will be saved onto a database. Now the portal will open at the start of July, so we're hoping for it to open on the 3rd of July, but it may not open until the week after. That portal will close on the 28th of August, which will allow the company then to process and check all the direct debits. That will then be sent through to us to allow us then to roll out the first sets of devices to your child when they start in September. The first direct debit payments will not come out of your account until the end of September. It's usually around the sort of 24th or 25th of that month. What I can please stress is that if you miss the deadline of filling in the portal, the web portal for the direct debit by the 28th of August, it's not the end of the world. The portal will then reopen again in the first week of September. It just means, unfortunately, that your child will not have their laptop given out to them in the first week of their entrance to Highfields, because we need to check that the direct debit has been set up correctly before we can issue the laptop. So please ensure that you have completed the portal before the 28th of August. And as I say, if it doesn't, it'll open again in the first week of September. But it usually takes about 4 or 5 days for the report to come through from Freedom Tech to say these are the parents that have signed up. And so once we get that report, we can then issue the device to your child. So the ambition is by the end of the first week of your child's year 7 in Highfields, they will have their brand new device and training on how to use that device. That training will also be involved as part of the Year 6 induction program that Ms. Parker has put together in July. So your child will also be introduced to Office 365 account, and the email account that they will be issued on that induction day will be their school email account. And again, if they forget it over the summer holidays, there's no panic. We will have another training session in September to help them. So that's how you order. What I'd like to do is, as my other role as Deputy Head in terms of digital technologies, is to monitor, manage and introduce new technologies to support teaching and learning. And one of the mainstays and key foundations of our digital revolution in the last 3 or 4 years has been the introduction and use of Show My Homework. You may be familiar to this. There are other variations of this, but basically this is a homework platform, but it has evolved and developed into something more than that, and it's become a sort of a tool that teachers use in the classroom as well. In essence, from a parent point of view, Show My Homework allows you, it's an electronic organizer. So you have access to it, your child has access to it, and the staff have to record all homeworks, whether they're a written homework, so it might be that they have to revise for a test, so that obviously doesn't involve any written work. That has to be recorded as school policy on Show My Homework. So that allows you as a parent or as a carer to see any information that your child needs for their homework. As long as they got access to the internet, they can access this anywhere. So if your child's off ill for a period of time, or for some reason they can't come into school, like currently through the COVID-19, children can still access materials and make sure that they continue their education at home. In terms for you as a parent, there are 6, this has been developed, so types of homeworks that are set in Show My Homework, but the key one really is the assignment homework. From a student point of view, once they log in, and you will get your own login details as well as a parent, so you can see more than one child if you have more than one child at Highfields in your account. The 2 key areas really are on the left-hand side here. The first one that students look at is the to-do list. Now, when a student ticks on that they've done a task on the to-do list, it doesn't automatically indicate that it's been done. It doesn't mean that they've submitted it. This is just a sort of an aid memoir for the students. They actually physically have to submit it still, so there's some confusion with that. So that will be dealt with in the training that your child will get on the Year 6 induction day in July, but also in further training they get in September. The one thing I would suggest is the better one to look at is homework calendar, because the problem with to-do list is The assignments that are at the top of the to-do list are the ones that are closest to their deadlines. The ones that are furthest away from their deadlines are further down the list, which then leads to a false sense of security, and sometimes students forget to look further down the list. Whereas the homework calendar is far better because it lays it out in a calendar view, and they can clearly see which homeworks have got a longer deadline, which homeworks have got a shorter deadline, and I think it's better for them to organize themselves. So this platform has really revolutionized the way that we communicate with parents and parents communicate with us. And this is an example of how we're building using digital technologies to try and improve your child's experience and also their education, and also your experience and interaction with Highfields School. If you've got any further questions, feel free to either email the school, email the head of year, but if it's in relation to digital technology, we have the email at the top, digitalsupport@hswv.co.uk. That email goes straight through to my IT technicians, and if it's a technical issue or anything like that, then please feel free to use that come September. Obviously, up to this point, if there's any issues after the Year 6 induction day in terms of forgotten passwords for Office 365 or for Show My Homework, please email digitalsupport@hswv.co.uk. And I look forward to seeing you and hopefully your children in September, but particularly on the induction day. All the best.
Hi, my name is Ruben from Year 8. Joining Highfields, I had mixed emotions. I was sad to leave St Bart's, but really excited to start a new chapter. I was ready. I couldn't wait to start so many new lessons and activities. I was excited about PE, music, art and DT. I love the idea of moving from lesson to lesson, and I couldn't wait to get into the music studios. The classrooms and studios looked amazing. I had lots of worries too. How would I make friends? Would any of my friends be in my new form? How would I know where to go? Where would I get lunch from? And where do I take part in PE clubs? When I look back now, these were things that I shouldn't have given a second thought about. I attended introduction and made friends straight away. I met my form and my form tutor. I rotated around lessons and didn't get lost. I took part in science, in the labs, drama in the studios, music with lots of instruments, and finished my day with a great session of PE with Mr. Moody. I spent summer really looking forward to starting Year 7. Year 7 was a blast. I threw myself into all lessons and all extracurricular. I just couldn't get enough of it. I found it tough at first to balance all of the homework, but once I'd got shown my homework, I was up and running. The teachers are really supportive, and I soon found out if I asked for help, it was there. I also discovered I could learn to play an instrument. I have the guitar lessons now with Mr. Wolverson, and I support this with some studio sessions and guitar club. PE is where you'll find me most days. I think I attend every club on offer. I venture down there before school, at lunchtimes and after school. Year 7 went in a blink, and before I knew it, I was back again in September, but this time starting Year 8. I have some really great memories of Year 7, representing the school in dodgeball, rugby, handball, tennis, cricket, athletics, swimming, and the list goes on. I was lucky enough to win a PE Legacy Award too for my effort, and as I read this, I've just received an email to say I have been nominated again this year. I can't wait to see if I win. I also won an award for DT and got a trophy for being Student of the Term. I must also mention the many trips and opportunities I have had over the last 2 years. I have countless Premier League football games on Real Madrid tour and to Bear Grylls Adventure Park, to Landrineo, and next year I hope to go to Disneyland Paris with my year group. So just to finish off, don't spend summer worrying about starting, spend it getting excited about the new adventure that lies ahead. You'll love it.
Beginning at secondary school can seem daunting and maybe a little bit frightening, but it's also exciting and a chance for you to try new things and meet new people. You may feel anxious about starting in a big new school, but I can assure you that you're not the only one feeling this way. I felt the exact same way when I started Highfields. I was so excited to start secondary school, but I was also a little bit anxious. I didn't know anybody else, and there were so many worries going through my head. Would I make friends? What would the teachers be like? Was I going to get lost while looking for which room my next lesson was in? You may be worried about the same things as I was, but it's okay. You don't immediately get used to secondary school life, but you will. There's so many ways to meet new people and make friends. During lesson time, attending extracurricular clubs, and during break and lunch, you'll meet so many new people. Making friends for me wasn't as easy as I first thought, but over time I met lots of different people who shared the same interests as me, and some of them are now my closest friends. A difference between primary and secondary school is the lessons. In secondary school, you're able to experience lessons that you wouldn't normally have, such as food, dance, drama, and Spanish. Secondary school helps you discover talents you never knew you had. Before I came to Highfields, I enjoyed cooking and baking, but by having food lessons and joining cooking club, I realised that I was quite a talented baker, in my opinion. Highfields has provided me with so many opportunities. By attending different clubs, I've been able to go on trips and represent the school. I've helped prepare Christmas dinner for war veterans. In Year 7, I was a junior leader, and I've participated in events at school like opening days and sports days. Thank you for listening.
So a really big thank you to the 2 Year 8 students that you've just heard. I'm hoping now that they have put any fears or concerns to one side when you realise that this is just a perfectly normal feeling for everybody. Everyone is nervous when they start secondary school. That's just something that everyone has to get over. But you will see, hopefully, from their enthusiasm that they felt exactly the same, but they have absolutely blossomed since they've been through lower school and have got involved in so much. And that is the most important part about Highfields, is getting involved in as many things as you possibly can and trying something new. If there are any questions that we haven't answered through this presentation, please could you put them onto the survey that has gone out with the letter, and let me know if there's anything I need to ensure that your child receives all the support they need during induction and in September. The key thing for every Year 7 student is organisation, and we will talk a lot more about that in September and how we can support them with that. But organisation is definitely the key, and it's always the biggest challenge. Keep an eye on the Year 6 website page on the website, the transition page, because if there's anything updated, we will pop it on there for you. So in the meantime, all I can say is take care, stay safe. I look forward to meeting you all soon. And as for you, Year 6, I look forward to meeting you all on the induction days. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.